Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Nokomis at the BRS Baseball Museum. BRS stands for the last names of 3 Hall of Famers who grew up and played their baseball in this area: Bottomley, Ruffing, and Schalk. And this museum's been here for some years, but there's something new here that's not only at this location, but 6 other locations around the state of Illinois. But for this moment, Steve Johnson, the Smithsonian Home Field, is that what it's called? Hometown exhibit is in Nokomis.
It is.
It was a terrific acquisition for you guys, wasn't it?
It sure was. We were fortunate enough to be one of 6 places, as you said, in the state to get this exhibit for a 6-week run, and we're excited to have it and to show it off.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating. What it attempts to do is show how sports is sort of part of the fabric of life, and mostly in rural America.
Exactly. You know, it's so much more of an important part of America in the small towns. It is certainly important in the larger towns too, but you really get that sense of community in the smaller towns, and that's what this exhibit is trying to showcase for all of the towns, not just the rural areas.
You and I are sitting on bleachers that almost anybody would find in a high school stadium at a Friday night football game. And this is what these metal bleachers are what you'd be sitting on. And it's cool the way they've done this is they've put these bleacher seats here, and they invite you to play a little game along with them here, like this one, for instance. ERAs, RBIs, what's with all those stats? And then you pick it up, and there's a real old scorecard, you know, which shows you what it was like in the day when you were keeping score. Baseball and other sports are dream games for data hounds. And look at this one here. Why is the Star-Spangled Banner often played at athletic events? Well, here's your answer. During the 1918 World Series, between the Red Sox and the Cubs, bands played the Star-Spangled Banner to honor World War I veterans. Cool. Now, who would think all that stuff would be available just by coming and sitting in the bleachers?
Exactly.
Here's what's interesting about this, mostly, I think. I asked you, number one, how you acquired it. And you said, well, the grant process was not all that bad. They were looking for a place that had a certain amount of square footage, that had the commitment to man this thing. You have to have people available to do it. And you happen to be a sports venue, which was in your favor, I assume. I mean, do you think that played a role in it?
Absolutely. We were the only sports museum in Illinois that has this exhibit, so we were glad to have that honor.
Mm-hmm. Then you find out, well, okay, what do we need to do? We've got the space, we've gotten the grant. Now what do we need to do? And then they start laying the logistics on you, didn't they? And it wasn't all that easy, was it, to acquire this, load it, bring it? You had to do it all yourself, didn't you?
You did. Now they walked you through the process of how to do it, but we did have to go to the previous town that had this, which was Mattoon, an hour's drive, and we had to rent a U-Haul, and there were 21 large crates that are on wheels that we all of us had to wrestle into the truck, get it in, get it here, unload it, and then get into the process of actually putting the exhibit together, which was about a 5-hour process for a handful of us.
And everything's diagrammed for you. The Smithsonian folks that put this together planned it out to the square inch, didn't they?
They
about
did
how you'd set it up.
They did a great job for us. It's foolproof, I guess you could say. If you follow the instructions that they give you, they know what they're doing.
But you got to provide the manpower in the truck.
That's correct.
Nobody moving it around for you.
No, but we have a lot of good volunteers and a good board that helps out.
And as we stand here looking at this, there are 6 others of these around the country. 6 others around the country that are moving around?
This one and 5 others, so 6 total.
So they created 6 total, and one of them's moving around rural Illinois, and others are elsewhere.
That's right. I believe Idaho, West Virginia, Nebraska, New Jersey, and one that escapes me at this moment.
And this will be in Carthage later on. I think maybe in the fall it'll be in Carthage.
Yes,
which
I believe.
Will be its last stop in Illinois.
That's right. In the interim, it'll go to Waterloo, up to Rock Island, and then back to Carthage 1st of November, I believe.
Well, I guess, we might as well get off these bleachers and go take a look at some of this stuff. Huh?
Okay.
Come on. Steve, when you walk through this exhibit, you quickly learn that it's not as much probably about the players of the game as it is about the people that watch and love the games.
That's right, and this display here talks a little bit about the role that the fans do play. As you can see, we do have the block I from the University of Illinois
now,
shown
did you pick
there.
that out immediately, that this was U of I, the Memorial Stadium?
Well, yeah.
You did?
Of course.
Did you go to school there?
I did.
Okay. So you were one of either the orange or the black, or the block I there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, it has a lot of, obviously you can see a lot of different items that are used by fans all over the country, not just local here.
Yeah, it's neat that they picked the U of I. And of course, everybody's got a cowbell, or should have one anyway, if they're really a true fan, right?
That's right.
Let's see, who's this from? The Milwaukee Admirals. Okay, I don't even know what the Milwaukee Admirals play.
Minor league hockey.
Look, I'm glad you're here. And of course, here's more. These photos are terrific. Look at these ladies down here. Look at, boy, now that's a cheer squad, isn't it? From way long ago.
Yeah, from the 50s, it says. And they have a lot of modern items on here too, Mark. That's the nice thing about this exhibit. It has stuff from as recent, I believe, as last year. So they've put this together in a very nice display for the young and the old.
And it also goes to show, it's a big country with a lot of different fans, and they all have different ways of celebrating their teams. I mean, it's remarkable. Yeah. This guy here, I don't know what he's supposed to be, but the 12th man at Texas A&M, of course, is legendary, and you can see why that might help a team win. And then just to the right over here, everybody remembers what this was like. Anybody that played high school sports remembers having a locker like this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
man,
absolutely.
He didn't smell very good most of the time. I don't know if this one's still locked. But everybody had a little locker, and you had to jam everything in there, all your sweaty clothes.
Yep, it's supposed to be a realistic display, and we think that Smithsonian has done such a great job with it.
They did a nice job. And of course, rivalries, man. This is devoted to rivalries here. VS, this book is VS, and I guess these are some of the most famous ones. I found some in here or some I didn't find in here that I would like to have seen. This is USC in California, or UCLA in football.
Some high school 6-man, 8-man football teams that they then combined into one team.
And that's from Montana, huh?
Oh, that was an interesting story. There's Cornell hockey there at Fenway Park.
And they compared that to the Yankees and Red Sox. I don't know about that, but...
Well, at their level, it might be. So that's the beauty of it.
Between Needham and Wellesley in Massachusetts, okay. The oldest public high school rivalry. Auburn and Alabama, everybody knows about that.
And this one talks about where they had the one fan or handful of fans that poisoned the trees there about 4 years ago.
Now that is bitter rivalry.
Yes, and they talked how the schools and the fans of the schools came together and really mended some fences.
Yeah.
And they went back the other direction too, because if you remember, Alabama had the tornado in 11.
Oh yeah.
And the Auburn fans helped out. So that was kind of a nice.
It's very nice. It's a good story.
To do that.
But nothing about the Cubs and the Cards. That disappoints me a little bit. Let's get local over here, Steve. Before you opened the exhibit, I think, or maybe the day before, come on over here a little closer. Before you had a special night here in Nokomis.
We did.
And I think it was to celebrate the opening of this exhibit, or it was tied in with it anyway.
Exactly.
And what you did was a cool thing. You took the area state championship high school teams, and you had a special night for them.
Yeah.
And you brought this together in one exhibit.
Yes, we did. We have 8 championship teams from 6 different schools, ranging from as far ago as 100 years.
And that's over far on the right, over here. 1914, over on the right. We start on the right where these
the Hillsborough boys basketball.
Boys. And look at that. Look at the plaque. Yeah. That's priceless. 100 years old.
Yeah, that was the 7th year of the boys basketball tournament in Illinois.
And then we went to Raymond Lincolnwood
from 2009.
In 2009, and then this is
Probably one of the most famous basketball teams in the state of Illinois, the 1944 Taylorville team that went 45-0.
Wow.
Featured Johnny Orr, who just recently passed away, but had coached at Michigan and Iowa State, amongst other places.
Yes, he did. A very successful coach.
Yeah, and Ron Bontemps was on that team as well, both of those at U of I later on.
This one is
Pana from 1988.
Okay. 88.
Class A boys basketball champions. Next to that is the Shelbyville championship team from 1996. And then the 3 trophies on the left are all the girls basketball champions from our area. Of course, the Nokomis girls won consecutive championships in 1998 and 99.
Not easy to do.
No.
Not easy to do.
Nope. And the Hillsborough girls, the most recent basketball champions in our area from 2006.
Oh, that's terrific. And this exhibit will stay here, as long as the Smithsonian one is here?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Did you have to really twist some arms to get these trophies out of those schools?
No, they were really glad to have us have that as part of the exhibit. They've been very gracious.
That's terrific. It's extra effort that separates a winner from second place. Desire, determination, discipline, and self-sacrifice. Put these all together, and even if you don't win, how can you lose? Jesse Owens.
Yes.
I guess Jim Eisenbarth, he ought to know something about
well
winning, about winning, and about effort, determination, and
Extra
discipline. Huh? Terrific story.
In fact, it reminds me, if I may say something here, one of the themes that the girls basketball team had was extra effort, mental toughness, extra effort. I mean, that's what I thought of when you read that, and Owens, that was what they went by.
We saw the trophies from the 2 Nokomis girls basketball teams state that year to, and your daughter played on those teams, is that right?
Played center, she was
on those teams.
Yeah.
Terrific. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's time for another Nokomis championship, don't you think?
We've been close. The boys were, a year or two ago, runners-up.
Yeah.
1A.
Yeah.
So
it's time for another one.
It'll happen.
Yeah. You've been involved with the BRS Museum for a long time.
Many years.
And we were just chatting about when you bring in an exhibit like this, when you get it all set up, it looks pretty easy, but it disrupts everything for a period of time.
It does.
And then you have decisions to make when this goes away about, well, do we want the museum to be like it was, or is it time to redesign a little bit and do all that?
It will. In fact, one of our goals when we accepted the exhibit was to, what can we do that'll be an improvement over what we presently have. And I think that is going to happen. I mean, it's happening right now. There are several things here that different board members have labeled to give that more of a feeling for what's going on, and that the emotions of some games. I mean, that's all going to be staying now. So that's improvements already. Now, you wouldn't know that unless.
Yeah.
But I see it all over the place. That we've done that. Yeah. It's a good time to get rid of some of our older display cases and bring in some new, which we have over the years done. I mean, we're still growing and developing.
We're going to look at some of your gems that you have in this museum later in this program. I want to continue to look at some of the Smithsonian stuff first off here, though. And you were fascinating when you were putting this together. You were fascinated with this part of it because it shows how commercial sports have become through the years.
That's true. In fact, it opens up with, and I would think of this on my own, but an American obsession. How many different ways, and I like to refer to it as part of the American experience. I'm talking about sports and athletics. So there we have, in fact, I almost think they were saturated. To some of us in some towns are saturated with sports. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
And then we can see it by all kinds of examples, whether it's magazines or cereals.
Soccer Barbie.
Yeah.
And remember Air Jordans?
Air Jordan.
I think these things were like $100 when they first came out.
I think at least.
And people were committing crimes over these, these shoes. So yeah, we get carried away. We definitely get carried away. But it's part of it's part of that passion is what makes sports.
I agree.
Good too.
That's good.
But good. It's not all good, of course.
No, now when you think of this exhibit has no negativity to it. But anybody that knows and been around sports knows there's a certain amount of that goes with it.
yeah.
I mean, I could illustrate, but we don't need to.
I got you. I got you. We'll move around here, though, as we go, because not only were commercial art, but then, you know, these movies, these are examples of sports stories that became very popular.
I would say classic.
Yeah, classic films.
Now, if the Smithsonian picks those out, then that's what they've done. Those guys, they must. I mean, give them credit for picking some that we would all could relate to.
Oh, sure.
With Hoosiers or Field of Dreams.
Yeah. And these movies, these movies sort of changed the landscape in America. They got everybody's attention, and most of them were really feel-good types of movies.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
And they made your spirit come alive. And then there's this is art, because sports inspires art as well.
Literature.
And literature, yeah.
The works. Which I think is people sometimes overlook. That's not as prominent as some of the things we've talked about.
And language. Many of the phrases that we use, move this chair out of the way, many of the phrases that we use have come from sports situations, and a lot of these are, they're pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, they are.
But here's one that people might not know, like throw in the towel, for instance. What do you think that's from? Boxing. When the boxing manager throws in the towel, that means the fight's over.
Boxing, I wouldn't have guessed the year, which it said, I think, 1860 is when it originated from, right?
Win by a nose. What do you think, Jim?
I think it's a horse race.
Date unknown. Par for the course?
Golf, I guess.
1947.
Par for the golf.
Yeah. Drop the ball, that's kind of self-explanatory too, isn't it? 1950s. Yeah. That's nice. That's nice.
So here, now, Mark, here's one that we're not sure about, remember?
Out of left field.
I'm just I'm
out
putting
of
you on
left
the
field.
spot, but
I know what that means, but I feel sorry for the left fielder all the time. They say, is he that goofy, you know? Hey, while we're here,
sure.
You guys, this BRS Museum, we haven't visited here for years.
Right.
And you have some absolute gems of baseball history here that we'd like to take a look at while we're here.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Lisa, we mentioned it, looking at some of the treasures here in the museum from Bottomley and Schalk and Ruffing. And right now, we're looking at the glove, the left-handed first baseman's mitt of Jimmy Bottomley. What a treasure, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. And a ball that he signed that he used when he would come back to Nokomis. That one's dated 1931. The story is he would play pickup games when he'd come back to town.
They would come back and have pickup games. Ray Schalk would join him once in a while, and Red Ruffing would also join him, and they would do it out in Colton near the mines, and they would have that. I'm not sure if they did it for charity. We ran across some old negatives that had pictures of them doing that, and if I can find a way to get them printed up, good. I cleaned them up, but they need some editing, but they were kind of neat.
Well, you have a lot of pictures of him here when he would come back to Nokomis. He was a car dealer. Even as a baseball player, he had a Ford dealership. Is that right?
Just down the street, yep. Where the Ford dealer is now is where it was at that time.
Another of the prized possessions you have is the bat that I'm holding. And this old Louisville Slugger here, boy, this is a beauty. And his name is etched in it, Jim Bottomley. And I imagine he put quite a few dents in this bat.
Yeah, yeah, because he was a hitter.
The way he hit the ball.
Yes.
The way he hit the ball.
He was a
something.
hitter.
That's a heavy bat, too.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. 05. I'm privileged to hold it, but here, you take it.
Okay.
I feel like
Thank you.
I feel like I'm in an antique shop and I'll break something if I'm. These are really. This shows him. He had an interesting face. He was known for his sunny disposition, and that's why he got the nickname. But he looks sad, doesn't he? He looks kind of like a sad guy.
Yeah, a lot of times he did. Kind of. But they said he was always just happy and sunny disposition.
And he moved here with his family because his father worked in the coal mine near here.
Yes.
And then he went through Nokomis schools. Yeah.
We have an old yearbook back there of things. It's interesting to look through it and see the things that the teachers wrote about him and that he had said. A little perspective into his personality and what he was like. He's probably the one guy that I would like to have met, you know. And I always feel bad. I wish he could have gotten the Hall of Fame before he passed away, so he would have
Yeah.
known that, you know.
Yeah, he went into the Hall in 1974, but he died earlier than that at a very young age, 59, I think,
Yes.
in 1959.
Yes.
Yeah, so he didn't get a chance to enjoy that.
No, had some heart issues, I
What a
believe.
great career he had, though.
Yeah, he did. The 10 years with the Cardinals were great. And Branch Rickey actually brought him up. He's the first one through the farm system for the Cardinals.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, he was a good start, too.
Yes,
Wow.
he was. And of course, you know, Branch Rickey is known mostly for the Jackie Robinson
Sure,
thing.
yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that back in that time, he was still making players.
Well, now we know Bottomley, and we're about to know Ruffing. This would be Charles Red Ruffing, and as you look at the picture here, that's him in his glory days with the New York Yankees, and wow, he was traded, Steve, from the Red Sox, who were just not a very good team at all, to the Yankees, who were a tremendous team in the 30s, and he must have thought he died and went to heaven.
No, absolutely. His career turned around when he made it to New York.
Yeah.
And his statistics prove that. He was a tremendous pitcher. He was also a tremendous hitter. He hit more than 30 home runs as a pitcher and was frequently used as a pinch hitter, which in those days I would think would be a rarity, and certainly would be a rarity nowadays.
Yeah, and I think you told me earlier he had more than 500 hits.
Yes.
Which he was regularly getting on base.
Absolutely.
Because he started every fourth or fifth game,
That's right. He had a batting average of .269 in his career.
That's terrific. Now, we're looking at his Yankee uniform, and I like this because this is a recent acquisition for this museum, isn't it?
Yes, within the last 18 months, we acquired this via donation from Red's son. He told us that was the only one he had of his dad's.
No kidding.
And he wanted everybody to be able to see it, as opposed to just having it there at his home. So we were very, very grateful for his generosity.
It's even still got some of the Yankee Stadium dirt on it. You can see there's a spot right there near the lowest button. And you sure don't want to clean that up. That adds to it, doesn't it?
I think we'll leave it as is.
You're holding a ball that Red Ruffing signed, as am I. These are both from the 30s as well. Now, I don't know that we're going to make out the names on them, but they're on there.
Yep, his is right here underneath the seam. This one, I believe, was in 1936 or 1937, because right under him is Tony Lazzeri, the famous second baseman, also a Hall of Famer on that squad. This is,
I'm back to Red Ruffing now. He played in Nokomis. He moved here like Bottomley with his family for the coal mine job.
That's right.
And then played at Nokomis High School, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He played on Nokomis teams and was obviously a great athlete here and parlayed that into a Hall of Fame career.
He won 270-some games. Now, you can say, well, he was with a really good team, and he got the opportunity to play in a lot of World Series where he really distinguished himself, didn't he?
Yes, he was 7-2 in the World Series over the course of his career, and he won the opening game of a World Series 5 times, and no one has ever surpassed that.
I'm sure. Well, not too many people get a chance to do that, but 5 times to win the opening game.
Yes.
Now, if you're in the National League and you're facing him, you don't want that first game. You don't want to go. You don't want to go against him in that first game. He's hot at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for this. This is a terrific exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jim, about 10 years earlier than Red Ruffing, there was one catcher named Ray Shaw.
Correct.
From Illinois, Harville, Illinois, not too far from Nokomis.
Right.
And he caught for the White Sox for, gosh, I don't know, almost 20 years,
Yeah,
I
close
guess.
to it, 18, 20 years. Yes.
Terrific catcher. And we're looking at a picture of him. He was not a big man, was he?
No. 5'9", 165 maybe. Varies a little bit with what you read.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Several records, defensive records primarily. Well known. In fact, the one I like that I remember the most is that he has the claim to have been the first to back up first base.
No kidding.
I mean, that's what I have read on him, so I'm assuming.
So he was fast, too.
Well, he was a quick
He could
one.
get out. He could get
do
down
that.
there.
Yeah.
Unless you were a fast runner, you wouldn't want to get behind first base. The coach is not telling you to do that. You know.
He's
Yeah.
In fact, he was born in Harville, but his family, they lived a lot of years in Litchfield.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
He played all his local ball here, around here.
He did.
Yeah. And there's a picture of him catching in his stance. Now, he also happened to be with the White Sox during that notorious year,
Black Sox,
1919,
1919.
when the bribery scandal was going on.
Yes.
So he was never implicated in that, though, was
No,
he?
never.
He was always one of the good guys.
Yep.
You
One of a few.
Yeah, you're real proud. This mitt, I love this mitt because this shows the quality that they had to deal with there.
That, several years ago, the village of Harville, where he was born, brought it over and said, we think there's a better place for it rather than at the Village Hall of Harville. So we went ahead and they brought it over, and usually when the people bring things in, I ask, is it a donation or a gift, a loan, whatever.
Right, yeah.
So we put it in the computer, and the guys that brought it over said, it's a loan, but like a lot of loans in here, it's been here for...
It's a permanent loan.
Yeah, it's been here for years. Yeah, I mean, so, but that's interesting, yeah.
How could it couldn't be in a better place? Could not be
I don't
in a
think
better
so.
place. Yeah.
I don't think so. In fact, I probably told you this story before, but it relates to the Cardinals, but there's a gentleman who's a strong supporter of this museum from Vandalia. I've said this to you before. His name is Jim Staff. He was a minor league ball player, late 40s. And he said, at the time when the major leaguers got done with the uniforms, some guy would come in and say, here, minor leaguers, you can have, they pass them down.
Yeah.
Well, height, weight, and he said, I'll take that one. Threw it, looked in, it was Stan Musial's 1948 uniform. And that's a story where I say to Jim, gosh, if you hadn't been so nice as a 20 or 22-year-old, right, in good conscience, you, like most of the minor leaguers, kept them, he told me. I didn't, I handed it back. And then I always like to say to him, where might that Musial uniform be? Maybe. It might be on display in this museum. And then he hesitates a little bit and smiles and kind of says, well, maybe. Well, maybe. In other words, that might be a different story. But he's given us a couple of the uniforms over there, so Cardinal ones. But that would make me think about loan and donate, stuff. A lot of people have done that. They check us out carefully. They should.
Yeah. They should.
They should. They do. And they do. And pretty soon they come back.
You're legit. I can tell them you're legit.
We're legit.
Jim, I want to thank you and your helpers here at the museum for letting us in and telling us stories and talking to us.
Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Okay.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The Hometown Teams exhibit is here at the BRS Baseball Museum until July 20th. And while it's here, they're open every day, and admission is free. With another Illinois story in Nokomis, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.